All right. Welcome, loyal listeners, to another episode of Agency Intelligence Podcast, where I give you that real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. This is me back once again with the executive sessions. I am now still here at HawkSoft. I hope you've seen the other two. If you haven't, maybe this is the first one. You're going to be listening to Sean and Paul Hawkins, the Chief Product Officer, Sean, and Paul, who is the CEO. But I have the next best thing that is not called a Hawkins. Okay, I have Mr. Rushang Shah. Hey, thank you very much. He's the Chief Marketing Officer, I should actually say. Thanks, man, for joining us, bro.
Thanks, Jason, for having us. It's an honor. I love the content you put out, and I think it's really educative for the market. So yeah, I appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you. So when we think of marketing and we think of what the job of marketing is, of all of a lot of the tech companies in the insurance industry, or let's just say companies altogether, word is on the street, you have the easiest job because the company that you represent literally almost markets themselves, you know? I mean, am I wrong?
No, very true. I mean, my job is one thing is not to screw it up.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the PC way of saying it.
Organize it a little bit besides that, because the love is everywhere.
To us, we have a different vantage point into what marketing means, a little bit different than most companies. I know traditionally it's about promoting the company and promoting your product and platform. To us, it's about building trust. Mm-hmm. And HawkSoft, if you look at the history of HawkSoft, we're in year number 30 this year. For the first 18 to 20 years, there was no marketing department. Things grew very organically. Word of mouth, it started in the Pacific Northwest. All of a sudden, you got a customer down south in LA. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you hear someone in the Midwest buying, a license, and you're like, where did this come from? It's word of mouth. And so for 18 years, HawkSoft grew very organically. Around that time, I think the company made a decision that we're growing organically. We want to continue that trend. But how do we encapsulate this more formally? How do we get our story out the way we want to tell it? Mm-hmm. And so for us, marketing is not about promoting our product per se. It's about building trust. It's about talking about HawkSoft's values, what we care about, who we want to sell to, and attracting people that jive with our values. That's what it's
What are some of the things you think you do that attract? I mean, I think I can think of a couple of things, but what are some things that you do that attract people?
The biggest one is getting our story out there. So the origin story of an insurance agent seeing a problem, coming up with a solution.
Gotcha.
Not only that, but bringing his entire family into it. You got Sean, you got Jason, you got extended members of the family. Mm-hmm. And as we've grown as a company from that first person to about 170, 180 people, mm-hmm. that is our family. That is our extended family. And how we treat them, getting that word out there that these are the values that matter to us. We're going to grow slowly. We're going to methodically grow, but we're going to treat everyone as if they're employee number one.
That's great.
Getting that story out there, that to me is what draws.
As if they're employee number one. One of the things that Jeff Bezos prides himself on, I think they called it the Bezos letters, his annual report. He always starts with, and I haven't read it in a while, but he starts with, it's always day one at Amazon. Because every day after that is death, meaning it's new and it's exciting, but every day after that, sometimes you're trying to keep the thing going. It's a really, really interesting thing that he says there. I think that let's talk about this. One of the main marketing things that right now you have going on is this purple cow that's everywhere. Yeah. And if I'm correct, isn't it a Seth Godin book?
Seth Godin.
That's what I thought.
My background, I come from a different field. I spent more than a decade in the mobile space down in the Bay Area, and then up when I made the transition to the Pacific Northwest. If you remember, I go, and I'm probably going to carbon date myself here, but if you go back to the era of the Palm Pilots and Palm OS, that's where we got our start. And when you Palm Pilots, when you, and I hope half the audience knows what we're talking about.
Only half of them will. The other half won't.
but when you docked your Palm into the cradle that came with it, there was a technology there. There was a little button on that cradle where if you pushed it, it would sync to your database on your PC.
It was mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing at the time. It was one of the first app stores for any mobile device at the time. That tech was called HotSync, and that was our company.
Gotcha.
And so we rode the way from Palm to Windows Mobile to BlackBerry, iOS, iPhone came on the scene, Android, and then we made a really successful exit. But I come from a world that's bleeding edge, and I was really looking for an industry that was on its heels from technology adoption, and boy, did I find it in insurance.
Yes, you did.
But even saying that, the last 5 to 10 years in insurance have been warp speed.
Oh, yes.
You know, you and I are having this conversation. We're talking about APIs, things like that. That was unheard of.
Unheard of.
5 years ago.
We were debating in 10 years ago whether it was a good idea to have electronic signatures.
Yep.
That's what the big thing was. And there's still, I heard 30% of agencies don't use it.
They don't use it. And so there's a lot of potential out there. And for me, it's bringing in the learnings from bleeding edge to an industry that's on its heels, like I say, but there's a lot of potential there for people to understand how to use tech, how to use automation, how to use intelligent automation. So I don't necessarily have to add bodies to my company. I can add intelligent people to my staff.
So I love that. Let me ask you, listen, I want to take a second here. I want to stop and click on this. So this hot sync that you're a part of with Palm Pilot, is that part of it, or did Palm Pilot say, hey, we've got this thing and we need to sync it up. Let's go find some contractors that can make this happen. And then they chose you. And we don't know that stuff, right? Yeah. How does that happen on that level?
So it starts with a guy named John Rubenstein. He hosted what I feel was one of the first app stores for mobile devices. He called in a bunch of developers into a room. There were probably about 30 of us. And he said, look, this is the vision for Palm. We have an amazing device that makes you more productive. It gets your tasks, your notes, your calendar, your contacts on a device, so you can take them anywhere with you. But we want more than that. We want to build an ecosystem. And this is back when ecosystem was not a word. Not a word.
That's right.
So he had this amazing vision. And so he brought in developers and said, I'm not going to tell you what to build, because you guys are more intelligent than I am from that perspective. But what I am going to do is give you the tools and the hook into Palm OS so you can go build on top of that. Today, that's second nature. You get an iPhone and you got an app store with a gazillion apps on it. But back then, that didn't exist. And the idea that we are creating not a product, but a platform that other people can build off of, I give a lot of credit to Palm.
That was mind-blowing back then to think that, right? That was mind-blowing. I remember when and Jobs is around that same time creating the Apple Store so that you could listen to some Apple products. Let me ask you this. Have you read the book called In the Plex?
I have not.
It's a book. It was written around 2010, 2011. It's the story of Google. And Rushang, I encourage you to read this. There's a part in there that's very, very interesting. According to Sergey Brin, he's the owner of Google.
Yep.
They don't know this stuff like we do. We're geeks at this, right? He is on the board of directors at Samsung in 2004, 2005. Steve Jobs is on the board of Samsung. Samsung comes to them and says, we have this technology. It looks just like an iPhone. It basically looked like the first Galaxy. They say, Sergey says that he doesn't know this, but from what the word around Silicon Valley is that Steve left out of the meeting, called his chief product officer and said, grab the iTouch, put a damn phone in it, and let's go to market.
Wow.
According to that book, those lawsuits that went on for like 10, 12 years with Apple and Samsung, that was the core of it, was fighting that. And then they lost the fact that, hey, just because it's a flat phone, you can't say that no other phone can be that. Well, then it was like, yeah, but they're using all the technology that we had in there. And so I think as Americans, we just thought, oh, there's this war going on between Samsung. No, according to In the Plex, it's a great book. Yeah. They talk about how they strategized, Larry Page and Sergey, and they would put data centers in certain parts. And I think they put a data center right out here by the Columbia River, and there was a dam or something out there.
Bonneville.
They strategically put it there. And so, and the cool part is that back in the late 2008s, 2010s, internet was not as rapidly available. Well, when they would put in a data center, the whole town would get. So everybody at the time was like, "Yeah, bring these guys in." But then they started pulling a lot of data, and the electricity rates started going up. So, anyways, great book.
Speaking of books, and kind of to boomerang this back to Seth Godin. I come from that engineering side, and then I went on to the business side to do my MBA and all this good stuff. I will credit Seth in that book, The Purple Cow, as the seminal piece of work that got me to thinking about business, about brand, about trust, about permission entirely differently. And what Seth in that book, the fundamental principle is, the example he uses is, you're traveling down a country road and you see cows and goats and various animals on the side. You're not going to stop. You're not going to pull over and take a picture of a cow that looks normal. That may be black and white with black spots, right? You're not going to stop and pull out your phone and take a picture. But what if you saw a purple cow? You're going to pull over at all costs, pull out your phone, and nowadays put that on Insta or wherever. Right. You're going to talk about it. You're going to
go into town. You're going to tell your wife when you get home. Everybody.
And so what he's using that very simplistic analogy to talk about business and creating something of value to say, when you think as a business about what value you create, that could be in the form of a product, it could be in the form of service. Can you build the purple cow element right into that business? Meaning, can you make that product or that service so awesome that someone's going to stop and make a comment, remark about it, and make it remarkable in that sense? Are they going to tell their friends? Are they going to say, you can't do business without this solution, without this product or this service? So that's the gist of Purple Cow. Because that book was so seminal in my life and my perspective, when I came to HawkSoft, the first marketing plan I delivered, I had my daughter. She was 3 years old at the time.
Okay.
Together, one of the projects we did was we bought these cow figurines. I think it was at Michael's. We bought, there were 9 people on the board at the time, HawkSoft board. I bought 9 of them, and we painted all the white spots purple. And so when I delivered that marketing plan in year 1, I gave with it a purple cow figurine. And I didn't tell them what it was. I told them, this will be a test on whether you actually read the marketing plan, because I go over what Purple Cow is and why I think HawkSoft, this could tremendously benefit our brand, because we're all about trust, authenticity. This will tell me if you actually read the plan. And so I gave one of those to every single board member at the time.
And obviously it worked, because there's a damn purple cow every event I go to.
We've got a 15-foot purple cow now.
Yeah, you see it at your events, and it draws it. And I think it's really relatable, because a lot of a society does know that book. And so it kind of draws it in, which works to your advantage, right?
Yeah.
Because if you know about the book, it's like, okay, then you know what we're doing.
Exactly.
And if that's our marketing pledge, challenge us to show you that we are that purple cow.
Hold our feet to the fire.
That's right.
Are we delivering on this?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that. Give me some of that. I like that stuff. I love when you try to bring it together. The most exciting part is not making it or delivering it. It's watching 2-3 years later when you're like, damn, this just was just an idea that I put in in a thing. I didn't really expect it to go this far,
It went nuts. I never expected having 15-foot cows at events. I never expected having people come up to us and ask us at events that we don't bring that. Where's the cow?
Where's the cow?
Right.
I think the same thing whenever I go to someplace and their cow's not there. I do. I think that.
So, no, it's taken a life of its own, and I couldn't be more honored. Again, flowers to Seth Godin. Just this amazing person, amazing.
He really is. Yeah, the way he thinks. If you don't know him, loyal listeners, please go out there. He started a daily blog in 2002, and he has never missed a day.
Yep.
And that blog may be 3 sentences, or it may be 200, 300 words, but it's usually not very long, and you can get it right to your email. And the way he thinks is just he to me is an Elon Musk.
Yep.
Of the marketing and of the branding arena. He really sees things in such a weird light. And if you look at him, he just looks like a unique dude.
Yeah, he's totally unique.
He looks like a unique dude, you know. Rushang, this has been fantastic. And I want to ask this last question. This is actually going to be an industry question because we really got personal on you. Yeah. And technology is evolving. Agencies are trying to adopt it. But we have this issue where you have some people who don't want a management system. And that's fine. They'll come along. But then you have some people who are saying, hey, I use this management system, but it might be too much for me. And then you have at the opposite end, you have people who are saying, hey, this is awesome and I need more. And then as a marketing person, you have to instruct your people out there to know how to talk to both. And I imagine that's got to be a huge strategy. And Rushang, the reason I say that is as an agency owner, I have those customers I have to service who still want the phone call, but then there's others like, dude, don't call me, text me. How's that on your side?
I think it's, for us, it's a little bit easier than it may seem. We're more flexible. I mean, we got our roots starting off with one user agencies, and now we've got, agencies with 300-400 people.
Wow.
So we're flexible in scaling, but I think you've got to approach it from what the pain points of that agency are. You're right. You got the agency that's wary on new technology, right? Because, and I step back and say, why are they that way? What has happened to them that causes them to believe that way? And a lot of times it's that they were sold a bill of goods on technology that they may not have needed or didn't deliver on what, they were looking for. And so HawkSoft, we're very methodical in what we do in terms of the features that we put our weight behind. We're a little bit slower. I will admit that. We're not bleeding edge, but we're bleeding efficiency.
I love how you say that.
Bleeding efficiency, because we sit back and say, okay, here's all the cool, shiny things that are out there. What are people picking up? And then more importantly, what are they hanging on to? Because a lot of times people will pick up a shiny object, but then 3 months later they'll drop and say, yeah, that's that bill of goods that I didn't need.
That's right.
But the things that they hang on to and that are actually making them more productive and efficient, HawkSoft will put our weight behind that.
Wow.
So we're slower. We're going to sit back and look at what people are actually doing. What are the 20% of things that's making you really effective? But those are the vectors that we're going to take. So again, we're not bleeding edge, but we are bleeding efficiency. We're going to make sure that the features and the capabilities we launch in our solution cater to that. To go back to your question, I think that gives us the flexibility and the breathing room to be focused on one thing, which is, again, we guarantee you that when you use HawkSoft, it's going to make you more productive. It's not going to make you the coolest kid on the block.
Yes. Okay. So, as we wrap this up, loyal listeners, you hear the word productive, you hear the word efficient a lot, and sometimes I like to break those down. I believe that being productive is doing more with the same.
With the same.
Right? As opposed to efficiency is doing the same with less. Right? So sometimes understanding that how you're trying to utilize technology. Are you trying to be more efficient? Right? Or are you trying to be more productive? And I think a lot of people would say, well, Jason, I want to be both.
Yeah.
Right. And that could be, it's doing more with less. Yeah. Right. That's just at the simplest part of it. And I believe that the saying is out there that the average agency uses 10 to 15 to 20% of their management system. And I think you can get the both out of those by saying, hey, let's invest in this. We, in our agency, we just hired Angela Adams last summer for 6 months. We had him come in and teach us everything about that. Let's say that we're now using it to 40%. I'm able to run reports that can drive that, and I can measure that productivity. I can measure that efficiency, and you can see that there. And you mention it a lot, and you mentioned being flexible. One of my famous mentors told me, blessed are the flexible, for they don't get bent out of shape. And I love that. So that's great.
There's a story I want to tell you about this topic of efficiency, and let me step back. Marketing at HawkSoft is, again, we talked about this, is not about promotion, it's about education. And the premise of this comes from this idea that if you and I meet and you end up being a prospect of something that I'm selling, whether it's a product or service, if it's the wrong fit for you, it does me no good to push that onto you. But if in this interaction I can educate you about something, it doesn't necessarily have to be about my product or service. But if you were to leave this conversation with something new from me, you're going to remember that. You're going to remember me. And when the time is right for you to be in a position to buy what I am selling, product or service, because you remember our relationship, that it was based on genuine education, not me trying to push something down your throat, you're going to come back.
That's right.
And the story I want to tell here, I want to give flowers to HubSpot. I've been on their newsletter for north of 20, 25 years. In the early 2000s, I couldn't tell you what product they sold. But what I could tell you is that newsletter that landed in my inbox every week, I learned something from that. It was educating me about something that had nothing to do about their products, but it had to do with marketing. Kind of like Seth Godin.
Mm-hmm.
You look at his blog, every single piece was gold.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't talking about his books. He wasn't talking about him. And so I couldn't tell you for 10 years what HubSpot sold. And finally, out of curiosity, I'm like, how are these guys alive? How are they floating and how are they making money? Then I go look and I'm like, oh, they've got this really amazing CMS. Fast forward 10 more years, we're at HawkSoft. We're thinking about what CMS we want to use, what marketing automation platform we want to use. We researched the market, and I don't think HubSpot necessarily was the best. There's platforms out there that had more features for perhaps less. Mm-hmm. But out of sheer loyalty and out of gratitude for everything I learned from HubSpot, and out of gratitude for them not trying to force a product down my throat for 15, 20 years, we decided to go with HubSpot. That is our marketing automation platform. Yep. And I appreciate that relationship of authenticity that they had, so that when I was ready to buy and I was looking for a product in that vertical, I would go back to them. That's how we think of That's how we think of marketing. And we want our people to go from 10% utility of the management system to 60%. I don't think we're ever going to get to 100. There's always room to grow.
60 would be phenomenal.
Anything beyond 40 in my mind is phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And that's where we're investing. And I think if we invest in that, the rest will take care of itself and the customers will come, because we're not doing the marketing. Our customers are marketing us because they want to.
Shane, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having us.
This has been the Chief Marketing Officer here at HawkSoft. And once again, I don't need to beat it up. The parallels between all what they said was so right on. It was so right on. This has been everything that I wanted it to be, and I greatly appreciate you. And I appreciate you loyal listeners actually taking your time and wanting and helping, humanize them. I can ask the questions, they can answer. But if you do happen to see Paul, if you see Sean, if you see Rushang at an event, be sure to come up, tell them that you listened to the podcast. It's been really, really good. I feel lucky, and thanks again, really.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Hey, you know what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Jason Cass, and that is Rushang Shah, and we are out, baby.